Onyekachi Chukwu, the Senior Program Officer at PPDC, is joining me right here at the table for us to take a look at the FOI. Do you still think that the FOI is, or have people forgotten about it? Hello, Onyekachi. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
Thank you.
What do people think about this FOI? And I know for the kind of organization you work for, you guys promote transparency and accountability. So speak to me if Nigerians are still aware of this FOI and if they are indeed using it for what it is meant for.
Okay, great. So this year actually marked the 10th year anniversary for the Freedom of Information Act in Nigeria.
Flies.
I know. This was since 2011. So this is actually the 10th year. And so the question now is, how well is its implementation in Nigeria? Really, how well have public institutions actually been complying with the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act? And from the rankings, compliance rankings we do, one thing I can tell you is not so great. Right? The level of secrecy in public, by the public institutions is actually a whole lot. Reason being that sometimes they feel these information Nigerians necessarily don't need to know about them. But that's a bit wrong, because the only way Nigerians can actually solve Nigerians' problems is actually when it's actually brought out to the open. But unfortunately, there's just this thing about public servants, civil servants, where they feel these informations about things that they do should be actually kept in secret, right? People shouldn't know about it. It's nobody's business. But then, of course, how then do we move forward if you do not discuss your problems for people to actually, sort of proper solutions to them?
Do you think that the last 10 years, and it's so good we're doing this today, because marking the 10 years of FOI in Nigeria, because most people will not even remember, let alone think that, oh, we've gotten to 10 years already. Have public institutions been able to be responsive to the FOIA and open contracting? The second question will also be, why are public institutions, from what you just said, why are they unresponsive to the FOIA implementation as well as open contracting? And you spoke about some institutions are just secretive. Can you give us names of those? Let's name and shame them. Okay,
so I mean, for those kinds of information, you can always, take a look at the rankings, which is on the foivault.org. You can always visit there to see the rankings of MDAs, how they've performed using the Freedom of Information Act. Okay, but then I think I'll just go before.
A political answer. I didn't know you were a politician.
No. But the truth is that a lot of MDAs actually aren't performing so good, and by the time you actually go through the rankings, you actually see that there's a whole lot of reds, not being able to comply to the basic things. But then, to actually answer the questions you've asked, I think I'll start by trying to explain what exactly, we are talking about. I'll start by explaining what public procurement is. This is where it starts. So public procurement basically is government, procuring things, goods, service, and works, right, using public funds. So when procurement generally is buying and selling, right? But then when you actually make use of public funds and it's done by public institutions, that's when it's referred to as public procurement. And this is the only way government actually implements any project, right? Public procurement is actually the only way government implements its mandates, its vision, everything, literally. But then it's something that sometimes when we're discussing, it seems too vague. It seems like it's a very big word, but really it's not. It's everything that we do. But then over time, there's always been this issue of we don't have access to the things government is actually doing. So how do we have access to these things? This is when the open contracting has actually come into place. What that simply means is open up the public procurement processes so that citizens can actually have access to see what kinds of projects are actually being implemented in their communities, in their immediate environment, to enable them monitor its implementation to ensure that it's actually implemented effectively. Really, it's as simple as that. So you've actually budgeted for these things, right? And then you've awarded these contracts. Put out the details of these contracts so that Nigerians can see.
And not that in the next year budget again we'll
see another thing. You understand me? So it's open.
Two ministries or MDAs will still be on that same project.
Same thing, right? But then that's where the access to information we were talking about also comes in. So it's sort of interconnected. So now we're using the FOI to request, since they're not proactively disclosing this information, right? Which ordinarily they should do according to the Freedom of Information Act. But now we're requesting this information from them, saying
for MDAs that don't answer, what should be done to those MDAs?
Okay, so now the Freedom of Information Act is a bit, there is no...
vague.
Yes, it just says...
It's not complete.
Yeah, it says either you take them to court, right?
And we know how our court system is.
Exactly. And most of these public institutions actually know that if you go to court...
They will say, take us to court.
It might stay years before you actually get a judgment, right? And then it says, you get a fine of 500,000. So it's like an or. So it's either you don't give me the information, I give you 500,000. So obviously, if I'm hiding something of $1 billion, I can give you the 500,000 and then you move on, right? But then that's not basically what we're actually looking at. We're trying to get to a point where the ordinary Nigerian can actually go through a new public institution's website and actually see details of the projects that have been awarded to enable them monitor it.
There's a survey that has been done in about 4 states, I think.
Right.
Anambra.
There's Anambra, there's Akwa Ibom, there's Kaduna, and there's Ekiti states.
Okay. What has been found?
Okay, so we had actually launched the report a few weeks ago. What basically necessitated these things is that we've been working in these states, trying to get them to implement open contracting, having successfully advocated for it at the federal level, right, which led to the Nigerian Open Contracting Portal, which public institutions are expected to upload details of all their projects there, which they are not complying to, right? But now we've moved from the federal into the states now, trying to also get them to adopt the open contracting. And these 4 states are amongst the 7 states we're actually working with. And we had actually conducted a scoping survey in those states to actually understand exactly what are the challenges they are facing, what is actually preventing open contracting from not functioning properly, what is actually preventing freedom of information from not actually being implemented in those states. And one thing I can tell you generally, something that's common amongst all of them is there is this, will I say, lack of political will, right? There are instances where...
Is it lack of political will, or they don't just want to do it?
Okay, so the reason why I say lack of political will is, okay, well...
Or they are taking Nigerians for granted, that nobody will ask me, or even if I'm being asked a question.
Well, that's what we always think, that Nigerians don't ask questions, but by the time you actually engage people at this stage, they're actually asking a lot of questions. But the thing is, most of the time we have people who are governors, for instance, signing up to the Open Government Partnership and committing to things. But then it's up there. It doesn't trickle down to the people who are actually supposed to implement them. So you have your boss signing something, but you are the one who's hands-on supposed to do those things, but you have no idea what these things are, right? So there's no technical capacity to actually handle those things. They have no knowledge about those things. So it sort of makes it difficult to for them to actually comply. But then there are instances where they actually know, there's exactly this refusal to actually comply to, these things.
Okay, from what you've just said now, what do you think should be the role of non-state actors such as CSOs, the media, which I belong to, and even an average Nigerian, like I've said? Are we asking enough questions? Does it just only stop with asking questions? What more can we do to, encourage and improve transparency as well as accountability in the public procurement process? I know I've spoken with this.
Right.
And we're turning to a broken record. And FOI is now 10 years in Nigeria. Perhaps we'll do a series or a show on this to see how far we have come. But how can non-state actors improve the process? And perhaps any final word as we close. Okay.
So I think the very first thing is actually understanding what is, right? For you to ask, like I always say, for you to ask a question, you must know exactly before you're able to ask a question. So, but
you must even know it well to ask the
right questions. But then the problem is that we don't even know. So it makes it difficult to ask any questions. So I think this is where the non-state actors, the media, will have a role to play by actually coming, discussing more about this, having more shows about this, to actually have an opportunity to educate Nigerians on exactly what they are supposed to do and what they're supposed to know. Pretty much, yes.
Any final word, Onyekachi?
Like I always say, let's do better as Nigerians. That's all.
Let's do better. I hope in the next 10 years we're not coming back again. FY 20, or perhaps it will be amended. Who knows?
That's the plan. That's actually the push.
That's the push. Thank you, Onyekachi.
Thanks for having me.
For coming. All right, that's the show today. I hope you all have been enlightened, informed, and perhaps entertained. Thank you all. I'll see you again tomorrow, God willing. I am Nancy Naji. Be the best you can be and be the change you want to see. And before I forget, I've been speaking with Onyekachi Chukwu, the Senior Program Officer at PPDC. In case you want to know the MDAs, how they are ranking, you can go on that website.
FOI Vault.
Yes, foivault.org, and see how the ministries, MDAs, are performing. We'll look at that again on another edition. I'll see you tomorrow.